what's up you guys? My name is Laura and I'm kind of vibing with comic book covers. Is that what I want to call those? It's not. This is going to be a reading vlog dedicated to 3 books that I don't think have anything in common, but the covers all kind of give me the same vibe. The only one I have physically is Alter Ego by Alex Segura, which I got from Book of the Month. Nope, Aardvark. hence the dot. And the other 2 are She's a Lamb by Meredith, I think Hallbeck, maybe. And I have an arc of that one on my Kindle, and then I borrowed Grimroot from Kindle Unlimited. I was actually going to get that from my library, but nobody had it. Like, not only did my library not have a copy of it, I have like 8 library cards on Libby and none of them had it either. Like, I knew this was niche. Is that even the right word? I knew it wasn't super popular, but I thought it would exist. So anyway, all of these covers kind of just give me this comic book vibe, and I decided to read them all together. Can I read 4 books this week? Probably not, because this is January 6th, and if I have my life together, I'm posting this next Tuesday, the 14th. We all know I'm not gonna do that. Why'd I even say that? Also, my video capture, the screen is delayed, so I'm staring at myself in the past and it's freaking me out. Anyway, what are these books about, you might be asking? Let me look this up on a computer. I could read the description of the one in my lap. I could do that. So Grimroot, I recall Kayla reading and not loving, but the cover, I just love the cover so much I have to try it. I did at least not pay for it. Unless I love it, then I'll buy it. Okay, so Grimroot by Bonnie Jo Stufflebeam. And also, can we just say, what an epic last name. Like, that is a name you keep. If my last name was Stufflebeam, I would never change it. Grimroot is a darkly humorous gothic horror novel pitched as The Bachelor meets The Haunting of Hill House. I don't love The Bachelor, and I've never read The Haunting of Hill House, but I love the Netflix show. Okay, so it's The Bachelor meets The Haunting of Hill House, in which a group of women on a reality TV dating show must compete for the hand of an eligible bachelor by spending a week in a haunted house. So that just seems interesting. It seems kind of funny. I'm in a romance moment, kind of. So maybe that will work for me. Why is my face so red? Like, you would think that I was sweating. I'm not. I just have a red face. Oh, by Meredith Hambrock. What did I say? I was close. A darkly comic suspense in the vein of All's Well and Yellowface, 2 books I loved. She's a Lamb is an edgy and incisive novel that marches toward showtime with a growing unease about the dangers of magical thinking and the depths of delusion. That feels a little on the nose with how delusional I've been the past 2 months, so I'm going to try and not take offense. Jessamine St. Germain is meant to be a star, not an actor who occasionally books yogurt commercials, and certainly not a lowly usher. Did I say usher twice? Certainly not a lowly usher at one of Vancouver's smallest regional theaters. No, she is bound for greatness, and that is why the part of Maria in the theater's upcoming production of The Sound of Music is hers, or it's going to be. Jessamine may have been relegated to the position of childminder for the little brats playing the Von Trapp children, but it's so obvious she's there for a different reason. The director wants her close to the role, so when Samantha, the lead, inevitably fails, Jessamine will be there to take her place in the spotlight. So that just seems kind of obsession, kind of satirical, and I'm obsessed with the cover. And I've been really bad at my arcs lately, so I am trying to prioritize this one. And then lastly, we have Alter Ego, which unfortunately is book 2 in a series, I think, which is always disappointing when I feel like these book boxes do not advertise that clearly. This has happened to me 2 or 3 times between Aardvark and Book of the Month, and I hate it. I know a lot of these are like, oh, it's a standalone story, but like follows the same character. I still hate it. Sorry. I like to read these things in order, and now I don't get to do that. Although, to be fair, book 1 is called Secret Identity, and it does actually fit the theme of this kind of comic book cover. Oh, it's like about comic books. Well, that would explain the cover, wouldn't it? Is this actually just a sequel? Okay, so the description of book 1 is that it's a rollicking literary mystery set in the world of comic books. Okay, so plot twist, I'm gonna get book 1 and then read this. So that's now 4 books. And I may have said 4 at the beginning, saying how am I gonna read 4 books this week? But that was because I'm reading I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast is Me. And I just need to finish that this week because I like it. I don't think I can read 5 books in a week. I think my hopes of getting this done by January 14th was never going to happen, but it's going to happen less so now. Anyway, so those other 2 books for sure, Secret Identity 1 and then Alter Ego? Okay, I guess we'll see, and I will check in with you guys when I have an update on one of these books. Okay, bye. Oh, hi, Nug. How's it going? And I'm in chapter 1, and I'm enjoying it. But, like, first of all, love the dots. There's, like, legit comics in it. Like, it's mostly a novel. But how cool is that? Like, okay, it's not, I thought it was every chapter. It's not. But even still, I think that's really cool. Oh, God. No, don't move. No! I didn't set up my tripod specifically because she was sitting on me, and then the camera got weird, and she left. Okay. It's been a hectic couple days. It's now Wednesday the 8th. So I've actually made pretty good progress. I finished Secret Identity, which is book 1 of the Secret Identity books. The second one being Alter Ego. My library had this, so I ran over and I got it and I read it. And I really liked it. I honestly didn't know what to expect. And I think that was a good way to go. I think I've already inserted a clip that shows how it has comic book inserts, which I thought was a really neat addition. And the whole story, you're following Carmen, who is a Cuban immigrant and in the 1970s. And she is working in New York for a comic book company, think Marvel, DC, but obviously it's their own. And she wants a chance to actually write a novel or a comic book, but she is the secretary. Sexism is alive and well in the 70s, and her boss won't let her. So she ends up getting an opportunity with one of her coworkers to kind of ghostwrite a script. And then things go wrong. And the book description will give you more description than I'm going to give you. I personally recommend not reading that. Maybe I'll put up an edited description because they tell you something that takes over 100 pages to reveal in a way that I feel like would have been better if you were surprised, just given how long it takes. Like, I think if that scene had happened sooner, I would have been less upset with the description. Like, I just think it either shouldn't be in the description or it should happen sooner. It is, I would say, the inciting incident that kind of triggers everything, but I think it's better to not know. So we're basically, the general gist is you're following Carmen while she is ghost writing a comic book and how she's grappling with how she feels about that. And we are also following, well, it's only her perspective, but she's dealing with that. And then she's also dealing with the fact that she is a gay woman, a gay Cuban woman in New York City in the 1970s. Obviously, that is not a time to be out and proud, but her family is very conservative, so there is a lot of tension there. There's a lot of past history that comes up, and all of it I thought was really good. I really enjoyed it, and I really recommend it. I was debating just reading that book and then Grim Root and She's a Lamb, just because reading 3 more books and editing this video by Tuesday seems like a lot. And, you know, this was a self-imposed deadline. I don't have to have this done by Tuesday. I want to have it done by Tuesday. But I'm enjoying this so much, I want to read book 2. I still have to finish that book. But Alter Ego, which is book 2, doesn't follow Carmen. It follows Annie Bustamante. So I definitely understand now why this is being marketed as a series that you can read at any, like, there's multiple entry points, I guess. And this one also has comics in it. Yes, that was really fun. I really enjoyed that. So if you like comic books, I think this is a win. It talks a lot about the comic book industry. There's a lot of mentions to the characters, Stan Lee, and I'm like, hey, I know who that is. I didn't know a lot of the references, but I knew that one. The other thing, which has nothing to do with this book, but I just want to show clips of my cats because they're cute. Poor baby Nug. She's been sick, and I've been tearing myself apart because I don't know why. Her blood work is normal. Her appetite is seemingly normal. She was throwing up a lot, which is what, you know, triggered me to be like, something's wrong. And then I had an anti-nausea pill, so I gave her that for cats, not just like a random one. It was a vet-approved anti-nausea pill. And I gave her that. She was good. And then after that, she threw up again, like once that was out of her system. So I took her to the vet and was like, hey, what's going on? God, my hair. And they were like, you know, her blood looks good. Everything else about her looks good, except her gums and her teeth are fucked. Like, they said it way nicer. So they're like, we need to do a dental. And we'll probably have to do like an extraction or 2. Like, things are not great. And I was like, okay. They were actually probably harsher in terms of saying it's not great, because I knew it was something we had to get done immediately. Did not have the money for that, and still don't. So I took her in for a dental yesterday, and my poor precious little baby bean lost almost all of her teeth. I don't know how many she has left, but I feel like it's around 4, and I think they basically said she never needs a dental again because she has no teeth. So that sucked. So we're dealing with her aftercare now. She's doing great. She's eating great. That's all great. The thing I don't know is she hasn't been off anti-nausea drugs yet at all. Tonight she gets her last one, so cross your fingers, even though you're seeing this in the future, that she will be done throwing up, because mama can't afford more vet bills. That dental took it out of me. But she seemed like, I mean, I feel awful. Her teeth must have been hurting her so bad, because she seems like, I mean, this girl has no teeth and she is eating like a maniac. And she was eating before. She never stopped eating, except for one day. There was one day she stopped eating. But she has good appetite all the time. So to say she's not starving, the opposite. To say she's gorging herself now is an understatement. They have the same food. Hers has medicine in it, which is probably why she keeps doing this. Eat your medicine. The only reason she can't is because she has to have wet food. and I can't leave that out 24/7. So, she's a trooper. She's doing great. Let's just hope she stops throwing up. And I don't know what I'm going to read next. That's just a little, kitty aside. I think I'm going to look at page counts. I think I'm going to aim for Grimroot or She's a Lamb just because if I don't get to Alter Ego, I think that would be fine, So that's the plan, but I will let you know when I get to another book. Oh, and for the record, Secret Identity, 4 stars. I definitely do recommend it. I need to rant about Grimroot for a minute, and this will have spoilers. The description of the book specifically Hi, Nugget. It specifically mentions that the Bachelor will die, and that's kind of the kickoff for all this haunted house stuff and spooky ghost stuff and someone ruining the contest and did one of the contestants murder him. That's the vibe. Tell me why he dies on page 260 of 336. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you so fucking for real? No, I'm so pissed. This book was actually pretty good. I'm not done yet. I have 40 pages left or something. But what do you mean the description of the book spoiled the book? Are you kidding? I'm so angry. But then the other thing that made me angry, which is stupid, in light of everything else, Tristan gets attacked by a possum and Deja basically just throws the possum away, and then Tristan, as best as I can describe it, is turning into a tree while he dies. That's the only way I can describe this. But then Sabrina and Linda go and they fucking dissect the possum in the most non-clinical way. They don't have tools, so it's not it's safe. But there's no regard for how unsafe that could be, given how much it fucked up Tristan. And then they're dissecting him. Basically, there's not a lot of concern for the fact that this dead possum could infect them, could hurt them. But then they're talking about Tristan after he dies, and they're like, hey, being around a dead body is actually super dangerous as it starts, because they're not going to be able to get picked up for 2 more days, and they don't have a cell signal. So they're like, oh, well, we have to move Tristan's dead body because the smells that a decomposing dead body is really dangerous for you to be breathing in for 2 days straight. Not to mention, there's another dead body that they did not have the same conversation about, and they just threw him in a crawl space in the wall, and there was no concern for how that's fucked up. Whatever. But they're like, this is super dangerous, and we have to move him. And then the girls are like, but what if he infects us? What if we pick him up and we get infected? Girl, you were just wrist deep in a dead possum who infected Tristan. Why are you concerned about your health now? You already took the risk. Anyway, I'm mostly pissed that the book description's oh, Tristan's gonna die. And it's it's not the rising action. Is it the falling action? Anyway, the point is, it shouldn't have been in the description. That's all that matters. Also, it snowed last night. It's very pretty. It's not so pretty now. It was really pretty last night, and then it rained, so now it's ice, and I hate it. I'm gonna go finish this abomination. Okay, how do I describe this book? This is a romance horror, which I feel is a really untapped market. So kudos to Bonnie for, in my mind, inventing said drama. Genre? Did we mean genre? We did. So we're following 2 perspectives, Linda and Sabrina, and they are two of the final four contestants on a dating show. And they, along with the other two contestants and the Bachelor, go up to what is essentially this haunted mansion for a week. And then at the end of that week, the Bachelor, Tristan, is going to pick three. He's going to meet their families, and then, he's going to narrow it down. He's going to get married. And most of this book, like almost 75%, is mostly focused on the reality show and the fact that the house is just weird. There's not really any horror happening. You're mostly just confused. But, like, not in a bad way. You're just like, okay, this house, like, is this house haunted, or is production kind of just messing with the house and messing with the contestants? And I think a lot of that really did work because, as the audience, we don't know. And I think it was really interesting to think about, the house, or the production crew setting up this haunted house and messing with the contestants. And this is going to bother me. Okay, hi. More of me's in the frame now. But, like, having production mess with the contestants, I think, was a really interesting angle. I think that could have really worked well. And I liked not necessarily knowing, is this paranormal or is this production? But so many threads are left unanswered in an unsatisfying way. Because, like, as an example, We Used to Live Here by Marcus Klewer, I think, also kind of has an open ending, but it works super well. Like, all the questions aren't answered, but I have enough information to keep going by myself, to kind of keep thinking, keep investigating. I love that story. This one has threads that just don't get answered, or don't get answered well. And that was really frustrating. And the horror doesn't kick in until about the 75% mark. So for the first 3/4 of the book, you're mostly reading a romance that has not enough romance, but not enough horror. And the story itself was interesting. Like, I was invested, but it wasn't really anything that I was promised. And then you have the secondary issue that the book description tells you what happens at 75%. What happens at 75% is what kicks off the horror, but that's in the description, when, to me, that thing happening at 75%, most people would call a spoiler and not want to know prior to going into the book. So I didn't love that. I hated that. I viscerally hated that. And it makes me want to lower my rating, simply because I spent so much of the book essentially waiting for the action to happen. Because to me, if you put that in the description, that means it's going to happen, I would say, in the first quarter. Because you're telling me, like, this is what's kicking off the action. So to have to read the entire book to get to what you described to me as an inciting incident is incredibly frustrating. And I don't like it. So I feel like that's all I can really say without really bringing in spoilers. So if you don't want to know anything at all, here is a description of the book without the spoiler, or what I would consider a spoiler. And just know that I don't think has a satisfying ending. I think too much was left unsaid. Now, if you want spoilers, here are spoilers. And here's my initial reaction to the 75% mark incident. And what really bothers me is we learn that Deja owned this house, but we really never get a good explanation for why the house is the way that it is, why they're sewing people into trees, because, oh yeah, they're sewing people into trees. That's not well explained for me. And then Deja is like, oh, follow this weird ritual and sew me up into a tree and I'll fight it from the inside. And we never get a resolution on that. Like at one point, Linda and, oh my God, how did I forget her name so fast? I'm amazed at how fast I just forgot that girl's name. I want to say Claire. That just doesn't feel right. Charity. Okay. So Linda and Charity are in the house. They're hoping Sabrina got out and will bring them help. And they make like a passing comment that they hear noises inside the house that like implies that Deja is doing something. But that's never expanded upon. And then the two of them go hide in like a stone stairwell and then they just disappear forever. There is no resolution as to what happens to them. And then Sabrina has like a full mental collapse, gets her mother's wedding dress, and then just like goes and dies in the forest next to Tristan. It's very weird. And just none of the horror felt well established. Like, I don't need it to be spelled out. Like I said, with We Used to Live Here, I can enjoy an open ending, but I need enough information to envision where the story's going or like possible outcomes. Like this was all just like the forest and the trees are kind of alive. The house is kind of alive. The forest wants to kill you. And also the house is like, has a pink ooze. And like Marion had sap in her eyes, but that's never discussed again. Like, why did she get sick? Because she bit and spit out rotted fruit. And the fruit's never explained. It's just weird. And like Tristan gets attacked by this possum. But why? Like, it just kind of happens out of nowhere. And then he like turns into a tree, but like why? He kind of turns into, that's not even really explained. Why was the possum sick? How did the possum get sick? Did he eat the fruit? Because Tristan and Marion are both sick, but they don't have the same disease. And like Deja casually mentions that the men and the women, when they're sewed into trees, have to be separated. But like, why? Not like, just none of it makes any sense. So to then leave the ending open is like, I don't have enough information. It just kind of feels like you didn't know how to end the story. You're just kind of like, okay, everyone died. The end. But why? And for what? And why did Deja bring them back? Like she says the house was in her family and like she was trying to do this to salvage her reputation and her job. But like, how is this ever going to help? And then she kills her superior Brandon. But why? Or did she kill him? Did he kill himself? Why were they trying to blame his suicide on Linda? That's never explained. Why? How did Deja know that Linda killed her dad? How in the world did she know that? And like, there's so much emphasis on Linda's divorce, but I feel like not only was that really not necessary, it feels so unnecessary because I don't think they got into it enough. And I would have rather her just been like gay and going on this show for other reasons. Like, I don't even really get why she was on the show. Like, Deja seeks her out and basically forces her hand to go on the show, implying, I know you killed your dad, so come on this show and I can make that go away. Why? Why did you want her? I don't understand. Like, none of the motivations made sense. So I couldn't get behind anything that was happening. Which is a shame because before all the horror comes in, like there were pieces that I enjoyed and I think her writing was decent other than the fact that there's too many like loose threads. But I was engaged and I think the horror scenes were pretty gross. Like I think she did well with that. And I think there's some really good ideas. It just didn't come together well. And it wasn't explained well enough. And if I haven't said that enough, I've said this so many times, like word for word. The cover is amazing. 10 out of 10 cover. But I don't recommend it. I really don't. Like, it's just, it wasn't it wasn't worth the ride, honestly. So now we are on to She's a Lamb by Meredith Hambrock. Meredith Hambrock. I was kind of close. Which is like 300 pages. I have basically 2 days to finish reading this. I haven't started yet. It's completely doable if I focus on it. Because, like, honestly, 300 pages could take me like 3 to 6 hours. That's really not that long. But I have to choose to sit down for 3 to 6 hours and read over the next 2 days, which you would think I would love to do. And I do. But sometimes I like to doom scroll for hours on end too, you know? Gotta mix it up. Anyway, it's snowy and Nugget has officially gone 24 hours off of her anti-nausea meds and not vomiting. We are very excited. That's all very good progress. I refuse to be excited till it's been longer, but it's all trending in the right direction. We're very happy. And I will check in with you when I start reading She's a Lamb. Okay, so I've started She's a Lamb, and I'm gonna read you this quote and tell me that this does not remind you of that SNL sketch where Emma Stone was giving herself a backstory for playing a random woman in a gay porn. Because that's all I could think about. Just for like spoiler context, this is 11% in, and our protagonist is she's out for drinks with a friend, or friends plural, and she's mentioning she has an audition tomorrow, and they're like, oh, show us what you've prepared. So the role is for a commercial about a mom who, like a Febreze commercial. So she's like trying to get in the headspace of this mom. I think about mom who smells her kids' hockey equipment and looks like she's about to barf. Really consider what her day was like. Laundry, laundry, and more laundry. Then organizing the hall closet again. The kids were off camping all summer and they just chucked their stuff in there. I actually found a ball of tinfoil with a burnt marshmallow still inside. Ants crawling all over it. By lunchtime, I simply didn't have the energy to make myself a sandwich, so I warmed up a lean cuisine in the microwave, ate half of it, then threw the rest out while watching the news. It got too depressing, so I switched over to a daytime talk show and half listened while making a shopping list for the next week. And when I checked my calendar, I realized that hockey was about to start, and little Andy's equipment had been sitting in the basement storage room, sealed up all summer, baking in the heat. And I've been avoiding this one line on my calendar because I really do know, that it's going to be disgusting. I clench my fists and bury them in Rudy's jacket, spin around in my chair, smell it, and then retch 1, 2, 3 times before dropping it on the floor, back of my hand under my nose, assaulted. This is cruel and unusual. My eyes start to water. How is this my life? My one precious life. And all I can think about is Emma Stone creating this backstory for Deirdre and what is it? I think it's Jared and Godson who are hooking up. Like, that's all I can picture. If you've not seen that sketch, it is amazing. To the update corner, which is the corner of my house that's by my TBR shelf because I currently have a chair over here. I have finished She's a Lamb, and I think I'm gonna call it. I don't think I'm going to read Alter Ego because it is currently Sunday night, and I think I can actually get this up by Tuesday. So here's to hoping Monday me has the same thoughts and feelings. Okay, so here's the thing about She's a Lamb. It's just over 300 pages, I believe. And my Kindle was poorly formatted, which is just, it happens with the e-arcs. Sometimes they're formatted perfectly, sometimes they're not. This one was not, and that doesn't affect the quality of the book, but it does affect my reading experience. Hi, baby girl. you want to come up here? You're going to hurt me if you do. Can I pick you up? Or are you going to scream? There we go. Hi. Okay. So, can my cat show her butthole on YouTube? Hard to say. So, we're following Jessamine, who is obsessed with being the lead in a musical specifically. She's gotten work in commercials, she's gotten offers to do plays, but she wants to do musicals. It is the only thing she wants in life, and she is going to succeed at any cost. And this is kind of pitched as All's Well by Mona Awad meets Yellowface. I definitely understand why those are comp titles. Unfortunately, those are two of the best books I've ever read, and this falls short by a long shot. I don't think this book is bad, but if you go into it expecting like the quality of All's Well and Yellowface, you're not gonna get there. This is a story of obsession. It's got a lot of, it's such a good yawn. A lot of conversation about the book talks a lot about The Sound of Music, and I thought that was fun. I love that musical. I've never seen it on stage, but I love the movie. And, well, no, that's not true. I saw a high school production of it on stage. So I have seen a staged version of it, but I will not say I saw a good stage version. But there was, like, you're not meant to like her, Jessamine. But the problem is I'm never rooting for her. And there is something to be said about rooting for the anti-hero. And she does, well, she's not really an anti-hero. She does end up being a shitty person. But prior to her being super insane about getting this part, she's just annoying. Like, I don't want her to succeed because I'm annoyed by her. I don't need her to be likable. Sweetie, you're stabbing me. Can you move? Thank you. So it's like, okay, are we gonna knock that over again? Stormy. I don't care about Jessamine because it's very evident that she has a stronger opinion of her talent than what her talent actually is. And I think that's pretty normal for, like, a protagonist of this kind of story. Like, you kind of assume if she's this obsessed and this unsuccessful, she's probably making things up in her head. So, like, that tracked, but there was nothing about her that I liked to make me want to keep being inside of her head. And there was a lot of circular plots happening because we're basically following Jessamine from The Sound of Music audition to opening night. So there's a lot of time in between where it's the same thing day to day, and I got so sick of being in her head. There were some genuinely good quotes. There were some great moments, like when it reminded me of that SNL porn parody, but I think the story would have been stronger. Like, I need her to either be more likable or more hateable. She was almost just kind of in between for so long. Like, in terms of, like, in real life, I would have hated her. She seems very annoying and very up her own ass. But, like, from a narrative perspective, she just kind of seemed just bland and then also full of herself. It was very weird. So I didn't like that. But, there is some solid writing in there. But the last, like, 20% happened so fast, but I had already emotionally checked out by that point. that when things started hitting, I was just like, I don't care anymore. That I wish this had been a little bit shorter to cut out some of that stuff. Or again, make the protagonist more annoying. Nope, I don't want her to be more annoying. Make her more evil. I also don't think we got enough clarification on what everybody else knew about Jessamyn's life. There were some things that I didn't fully understand, and I can't figure out if the book didn't explain it or if it went over my head. And I will admit, both are definitely possible. But her motivations... Okay, we're going to talk about spoilers. So if you don't want any spoilers, leave now. Thank you for watching. I love you so much. But basically, Jessamyn cannot sing. It seems to be that she's a decent actress, but she is god-awful at singing. So for her to be so obsessed with landing the lead in a musical is obviously going to be unsuccessful. But there seems to be a large group of people who are really rooting for her to succeed at roles she's actually good at. Obviously, she's booking these commercials. She ends up getting an offer for a really interesting play, but she turns it, and she would have gotten the lead, but she turns it down because it's not a musical. And like that probably could have launched her career. So like even I'm mad at her for not taking that because she's just dumb. But you find out at the end that she was sexually abused by someone at like a theater camp. I'm fuzzy on when in her life she went, like, because I think she's 26, so I feel like it was probably like late high school, maybe college age. I'm not completely sure. I do think it told me. I don't remember. And it's like an open secret that everyone knew that she was one of the people that got abused by this man. And so the industry is kind of like all looking out for her to help her get roles that she's actually good at because they all feel bad that she was a victim. And like, okay, fine. That part makes sense. What doesn't make sense for me is she doesn't think she's a victim, and that doesn't mean she isn't, but she doesn't view that experience as traumatic. So it doesn't feel like she's reacting to that. Like she does have like one flashback when she gets rejected about something. She does come back to that moment. So like there is this obvious thread that she, like, underneath everything seems to be aware that she was abused and it has affected her. And so like getting this lead role, I'm guessing, would like fix this trauma that she's experienced that she refuses to acknowledge as traumatic. But we don't really go there. Like when we find out about all this, it's in this heated moment of two people hurling insults at each other. So it kind of feels like they're insulting each other, and then this person's just like, oh, and by the way, we all know that you were abused by this man and everyone just feels bad for you, so like suck it. And I'm paraphrasing a lot. That's not exactly how that went down, but like I feel like it's such a heavy topic that's thrown in as this, that's why she's crazy, as opposed to it like being this in-depth emotional exploration of what, you know, I haven't read My Dark Vanessa, but I know that it's about someone who doesn't think they were abused when they were abused. And I feel like this book doesn't delve into what any of this means. It's just like, oh no, she's insane and this is why. And it felt like a shock value moment versus something real. And this is not a literary story. Like this isn't, I thought it was a horror novel. I don't know what it's classified as now. It's an obsession story and like there is murder, but it's not really a thriller. And like, I mean, I guess you might have to call it a horror just for the bits of murder, but like, you know, there's plenty of literary and like historical novels that cover similar things that don't get labeled as horror. But this doesn't feel literary to me either. Like this isn't contemporary fiction to me. But I don't have a computer in front of me to check what people are classifying it as on Goodreads or what NetGalley said it was. So I will have to look at that. But basically, I didn't love this. So we really went from Secret Identity, which I loved, and then 2 flops. So that's cool. Do I think any of these covers accurately describe what's going on in these books? 1 out of 3. I do think Secret Identity is a good cover. I realized when I started this vlog, I wanted to talk about Alter Ego, and I cannot speak to if that cover aligns, but from what I know of Secret Identity, I feel like that will align. I think Grimroot is kind of an okay cover for what's inside of it, but I feel like you're going to see that cover. People who are drawn to that pop art are going to be really drawn to it, and I don't think the book necessarily delivers. And She's a Lamb, I feel like that cover is very different than what I got from the book. Like I would have, and in fact I did, I saw this cover and was like, NetGalley, I need this book. And they're like, here you go. So like this would have been a cover buy for me for sure. And I would have been so disappointed had I spent money on it. Like it was fine, but the cover delivers so much more than the book does. All that to say, it's like a 3-star. It's fine. I think if it sounds up your alley, like definitely check it out. But if you're on the fence, I would say skip it. It's not. I mean, I would personally say read All's Well and Yellowface. I think both of those books handle the obsession topics better. She's a Lamb could have delved into the racial discrimination things that Yellowface was talking about. I think they could have gone into that because the main antagonist for the role of Maria is an Asian woman. And I think they could have delved into that, but they really didn't. Like they mention that the fact that she's Asian is like, you know, a mark against her being Maria, but she's obviously very talented and they don't go deep enough. Like I just think everything that I wanted to be deeper doesn't go deep enough. And then everything else was just so bland. I will say though, I think this would be a fantastic movie because there's a lot of scenes during the rehearsals that I think would play really well with sound. And I don't mean audiobook because a lot of it is like, oh, they're singing The Lonely Goat Herd or like they're singing this song. And I think seeing how it gets so messed up with Jessamine not being able to sing, I think would make for some really good visual comedy or audio comedy. No, baby girl, please don't. So, like, I think the story in there is decent, but I didn't like it. Can I say that? How many more times? Okay, that is all for me this week. I hope you all had a great week. I hope that your upcoming week is fantastic. I hope all your pets are safe and well, and I hope everyone is safe from the fires and from the snow, depending on what side of America you're on, or if you're in another part of the world where I don't know your weather, I hope it's all good and grand. And I will see you guys in another video in the future. Bye!